America is falling apart, right in front of our eyes, and most people won't realize it until their power's out, their job's gone, and they can't afford to eat. In 2026, $100,000 a year means overdraft fees. Six-figure earners are living paycheck to paycheck. Groceries are up 25% since 2020. Rent is swallowing over half of take-home pay in most cities. And medical debt is now the #1 cause of bankruptcy, even for the insured. This isn't just inflation. This is collapse, slow and silent. You're not crazy for feeling like everything's off. You're just one of the millions waking up to the reality. Working harder doesn't work anymore. Saving money doesn't save you anymore. And every single institution that was supposed to protect you sold you out. This isn't about doom, it's about truth. And once you see how deep the cracks run, you'll never unsee it. Let's get one thing straight, this isn't just about people mismanaging their money. That's the narrative the media and politicians want you to believe. That if you're struggling, you must have made bad choices. You bought too much avocado toast, or you're subscribed to Netflix and Hulu, and somehow that's why you're living paycheck to paycheck. But let me ask you something, how does that explain the fact that even households making $150,000 a year are still reporting that they're in the red by the end of the month? That's right. According to a recent Lending Club survey, 65% of Americans making six figures now live paycheck to paycheck. These aren't people blowing money on luxury yachts, they're struggling to afford rent, groceries, and car payments. And it's not because they're irresponsible. It's because the entire system has been quietly adjusted over the past 15 years to drain every single dime out of working people. From hidden inflation, to surging insurance premiums, to fees for absolutely everything, late fees, overdraft fees, convenience fees, your income gets siphoned off before you can even think about saving. In 2026, even with inflation cooling, the cost of shelter is still up 20.1% compared to 2019. Grocery prices? Still 25% higher than pre-pandemic levels. Healthcare? Forget it. The average deductible on employer-sponsored health plans has doubled since 2010, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. So if you're looking around and wondering why your hard work doesn't seem to get you anywhere anymore, you're not crazy. You're being harvested, bled dry by a system that's decided it's more profitable for corporations if you're desperate, indebted, and always behind. And it's working. Because the more stressed out you are, the more you pay in interest. The more isolated you are, the more you swipe your card to feel better. And while you hustle and grind for one more gig, one more paycheck, Wall Street is setting another quarterly profit record using the dollars you thought you'd saved for your kids' future. The truth is, you're not broke. You're being robbed. Quietly. Every single day. Now let me ask you this, when did the American dream start requiring 20 years of debt to maybe, just maybe, get a house you can't even enjoy? Because somewhere along the way, we traded freedom for financing. And now in 2026, the average American family is living inside a contract bound to student loans, auto loans, credit card debt, mortgages, and buy now, pay later schemes just to survive. And the craziest part? Household debt just hit $17.29 trillion according to the New York Fed. That's not corporate debt. That's not government spending. That's us. Real people, real families, chained to debt just to make ends meet. Think about it, most Americans can't buy anything outright anymore. You want a car? That'll be a 72-month loan. A house? You'll need to sign a 30-year mortgage plus pay property taxes that rise every single year, even if the house is falling apart. Healthcare? If you don't want to die, be prepared to go into medical debt. Even food now is on credit because grocery stores now offer pay in full at checkout. You see what I'm saying? The dream isn't home ownership or freedom or retirement anymore. It's survival. And every bit of it comes with a contract and an interest rate. And don't even get me started on education. The average student loan balance for Americans aged 35 to 49? Over $43,000. For what? Degrees that now qualify you for jobs paying the same wage as a barista? And if you think forgiveness is coming, don't hold your breath. The Supreme Court made sure student loans would stay locked in $1.75 trillion and climbing. So when people say they feel trapped, or that life feels like one big bill they'll never pay off, that's because it is. We've been sold a lie, financed with compounding interest and backed by banks that profit off every delay, every missed payment, every extra month you stay broke. This isn't a glitch. It's the business model. Cities are collapsing, and no one's talking about it. This one doesn't get enough attention, but it's right in front of our eyes if we bother to look. Major cities in America are in serious decline. I'm not talking about a bad neighborhood or a little local crime spike. I mean entire downtowns dying. Commercial real estate is imploding. In San Francisco, 33% of all downtown office space is vacant, according to CBRE's latest 2026 Q1 report. In Chicago, it's over 25%. And these aren't just empty buildings, these are tax holes. Every empty tower means fewer city services, fewer cops, fewer teachers, fewer resources, and higher taxes for everyone still living there. Public transit systems are going bankrupt. Philadelphia's SEPTA is warning of a $240 million funding gap in 2026, meaning reduced service and layoffs. San Francisco's BART system? Same story. And once the trains stop running, people stop showing up. And when the people stop coming downtown, guess what happens to the local shops? They close. Then crime moves in. Then people move out. It's a slow death spiral that you can't fix with one good year of tax revenue. And it's happening everywhere. In 2025, 17 major U.S. cities saw a net population loss, with people fleeing urban cores for cheaper, quieter suburbs or leaving the state entirely. But here's the kicker, those suburbs? They're now just as unaffordable. Median suburban home prices rose 44% since 2020, and many of these towns don't have the infrastructure to support the influx of people. The result? Gridlocked traffic, collapsing schools, skyrocketing property taxes, and a housing market that's completely out of reach. So if you're wondering why your once booming city now feels like a ghost town with potholes the size of bathtubs and rent that still costs you your soul, that's why. America's urban foundation is cracking, and we're all standing on top of it. Americans are trapped in a permanent energy crisis. Nobody's really talking about it this way, but energy bills have quietly become one of the most devastating drains on the American middle class. Think about it. Every month, you're now forced to pay double or triple what you did just a few years ago to simply keep your house livable. And I'm not exaggerating here, residential electricity prices in the U.S. rose 25% between 2020 and 2025, and the increases are not slowing down. In 2026, experts are projecting another 7% to 12% increase in most major metro areas, thanks to utility companies hiking rates to offset infrastructure costs, wildfires, weather disruptions, and the explosion in demand caused by data centers. That's right, your bill isn't going up because you're using more. It's going up because Google, Amazon, and AI companies are draining the grid dry, and you're footing the bill for it. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, data centers are now using more electricity than all U.S. households in the entire Midwest region combined. And it gets worse. By 2030, data center electricity use is expected to triple, meaning your energy bill is about to become the second rent. And the insult here is that there's no way to fight it. You can conserve, sweat through summer, freeze through winter, install LED bulbs, unplug every appliance, and still see a higher bill. Because while demand is exploding, we're building less than 5% of the new transmission lines required to handle it, which means supply stays tight and rates stay high. Meanwhile, fossil fuel companies continue to rake in record profits, $200 billion in profits for big oil in 2023 alone, while the government subsidizes both them and green energy projects that still aren't lowering prices for average people. And don't think you can escape by moving rural. Those areas often have the highest per kilowatt-hour rates due to sparse infrastructure and monopoly providers. So what you're left with is this: a country that has the resources, the technology, and the capital to provide affordable energy for everyone but doesn't, because there's more profit in crisis. We are not in an energy shortage. We are in an energy hostage situation, and you're paying the ransom every month. Our food system is quietly falling apart. If you've walked into a grocery store recently and left feeling like you just got mugged, you're not alone. We've officially reached a point in America where literal basic food is becoming a luxury. And it's not just inflation, although that's still a massive issue. It's systemic collapse. We're We're talking supply chain erosion, consolidation, climate disruption, and corporate greed all wrapped into one slow-moving food crisis. First off, let's look at the numbers. According to the USDA, the price of food at home has increased 23% since 2020, and in many areas, it's much worse. Eggs are still hovering near $4 a dozen. A gallon of milk is now over $5 in parts of California and New England. And good luck buying meat. Ground beef is up over 30% in just 3 years, and poultry is not far behind. But the terrifying part is how fragile the system is now. A single drought in Kansas? Wheat prices spike globally. A cyber attack on a processing plant? Chicken shelves go empty for weeks. And behind all this is the fact that 4 corporations control over 80% of the U.S. beef, pork, and poultry industry. That's not a market. That's a cartel. And when those companies raise prices, there's no one to compete them back down. Meanwhile, farmers are getting crushed. Fertilizer prices are still more than 40% above pre-pandemic levels. Diesel fuel is back above $5 per gallon in many agricultural states. And extreme weather has wrecked harvests across the Midwest for the 3rd year in a row. You think inflation's bad now? Just wait until the next crop failure hits the Corn Belt. And don't forget the SNAP emergency allotments that helped feed millions during the pandemic? Gone. Food insecurity is now back to 2008 levels, and more than 34 million Americans, including 9 million children, are food insecure right now. So yeah, when we say America is falling apart, we're not just talking about bridges and schools, we're talking about the most essential system of all, food. And while billionaires buy up farmland and automate supply chains, the rest of us are left choosing between groceries or rent. This is what collapse looks like. Slow, invisible at first, then suddenly it's everywhere. And by the time people realize it, they're already starving. America's infrastructure is being held together with duct tape. The physical foundation of this country, our roads, bridges, water pipes, dams, power lines, is rotting. It's not sensational to say it. It's not hyperbole. It's documented, measured, and getting worse every year. The American Society of Civil Engineers gave the U.S. a C- on our National Infrastructure Report Card in 2025, with many categories like public transit, roads, and stormwater systems scoring in the D range. That's not a political talking point, that's our real-world grade. And what does that mean in practice? It means 43% of public roadways are in poor or mediocre condition. It means there are over 45,000 structurally deficient bridges still in active use, many of which carry school buses, emergency vehicles, and millions of commuters every day. It means we're one hard freeze away from another Jackson, Mississippi water crisis, or another Flint, or another Texas grid collapse. And yet, despite the Biden administration's historic infrastructure bill, the money is moving way too slow. Construction is being delayed by permit fights, labor shortages, lawsuits, and corruption. And in the meantime, our outdated water systems are leaking 6 billion gallons of treated drinking water every single day. That's enough to supply the entire state of New York. And don't even get me started on rail. Amtrak still shares tracks with freight, meaning delays and derailments are a constant threat. Meanwhile, countries like Japan and Germany are running on next-gen bullet trains, and we're still operating on systems designed in the 1970s. It's embarrassing and dangerous. Just last year, a train carrying toxic chemicals derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, contaminating local air and water, and people are still dealing with the fallout. So here's the truth. America looks shiny on the surface, but underneath it's rust, rot, and risk. And no one in power wants to tell you how close we are to real disaster. Because once the infrastructure breaks, everything else goes with it. Commerce, travel, healthcare, safety, trust. We are driving 80 miles per hour down a crumbling highway with no brakes and no map. And most Americans don't even know it. Healthcare in America has become a predatory trap. It's not healthcare anymore, it's financial warfare disguised in scrubs and lab coats. You don't visit the doctor in America. You enter a pricing labyrinth with no exit. And if you come out the other side with your health intact, chances are you left your bank account in a coma. Right now, in 2026, the average health insurance premium for a family plan is over $2,100 per month. That's before you even step foot into a clinic. And deductibles? Good luck. The average family deductible is now $9,450, meaning you could be paying tens of thousands of dollars out of pocket before your insurance even kicks in. And that's if you're lucky enough to have employer coverage. For self-employed families, health insurance has become an existential crisis. One policyholder recently went viral for showing her family's plan: $1,289 a month with an $11,900 deductible. That's not insurance, that's extortion. And what are you paying for? Surprise billing, denied claims, narrow networks. One missed payment, and your coverage vanishes, sometimes retroactively. And then comes the real nightmare: medical debt. As of this year, over 100 million Americans, nearly 1 in 3, are in some form of medical debt. The majority of bankruptcies in this country are tied to medical expenses, and here's the kicker: most of those people actually had insurance. You can do everything right, go to the ER for a valid reason, stay in network, get pre-approvals, and still get slapped with a $17,000 bill because some anesthesiologist in the room wasn't covered. And when you call to fight it, you're put on hold for 6 hours only to be gaslit by a customer service rep reading from a script. And let's talk prescription drugs. Americans pay 2 to 4 times more for the exact same medications that Canadians or Europeans pay. You think that's coincidence? No. It's policy. It's corruption. It's corporate lobbying that's baked into our laws. Pfizer alone made $81 billion in revenue in 2023, while diabetics ration insulin and seniors skip pills to afford groceries. This isn't a broken system. It's working exactly as designed for shareholders. And the real horror? It's making people afraid to live. Afraid to go to the doctor, afraid to call an ambulance, afraid to ask for help. That is what collapse feels like, not with gunfire or sirens, but with silence and slow suffering in a nation that lets you die waiting for paperwork to be processed. America didn't lose its healthcare system. It sold it. The rent crisis has become a nationwide hostage situation. There is no such thing as affordable housing in America anymore. That phrase should honestly be retired, because in 2026, rent is no longer a monthly cost. It's a form of punishment. A weapon, a trap. Right now, the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment in the U.S. is $1,770, and in dozens of cities, it's over $2,500 for a single bedroom. No yard, no garage, often no peace. And the cruel part? That doesn't even get you safety anymore. You might be paying $2,000 a month to live in a unit with roaches, mold, paper-thin walls, a landlord who doesn't answer emails, and a property management company that auto-increases your rent 9% a year just because they can. And the justification they give you? Market rates. Let me explain that. Market rate just means they saw someone else gouge a tenant and decided to copy them. It's not a law. It's not inflation. It's pure corporate greed. Rent has outpaced wages in 95% of the country. According to Zillow, the average renter now spends 35% of their income on rent, but in places like Miami, Los Angeles, and Austin, it's over 50%. That's half your paycheck just for the right to not be homeless. And if you don't have perfect credit, 3 times the rent in monthly income, a spotless eviction record, a glowing landlord reference, and 2 months of security deposit saved, good luck. They don't want you. And if you do get in and your rent goes up $400 next year, you're trapped. Because moving requires thousands of dollars upfront first, last, security, truck, application fees, and the cost of moving out is now equal to staying put. That's not housing. That's a hostage situation. And don't fall for the myth that building new apartments will solve this. Most new construction is luxury, not affordable. They're charging $2,800 for 600 square feet with laminate counters and smart thermostats. It's fake, luxury, cheap materials wrapped in buzzwords and priced like a yacht. And Section 8? Years-long waiting lists, homeless shelters, overflowing, RV parks, full of working people. So when you hear stories of people living in hotels, sleeping in cars, or moving to another country just to survive, believe them. They're not being dramatic. They're early warning signs. Rent is no longer about shelter. It's about control. And in America, it's becoming impossible to escape. The job market is rotting from the inside, even if the headlines say strong. Let me tell you what's really happening, because the jobs are booming narrative is one of the biggest psychological traps in America right now. On paper, everything looks fine. You hear about unemployment rates, resilience, soft landings, and all these talking head catchphrases designed to calm you down. But out in the real world, the job market is turning into a rigged carnival game where you're told to keep throwing money and effort at it, but the prize is glued to the shelf. Here's what most people don't realize. A massive portion of recent hiring growth has been concentrated in lower-wage service roles, healthcare support, and government-adjacent sectors, while the jobs people actually need to survive stable, middle-income roles with benefits are getting quietly gutted or turned into contract work. Companies are doing something sneaky. They're hiring while simultaneously downgrading job quality. They replace one $75,000 salaried role with two $19 per hour temp roles and call it growth. They keep the workload the same but spread it across independent contractors who get no benefits, no unemployment protection, no health coverage, and no stability. This is why you're seeing people with degrees, experience, and spotless resumes applying to 200 jobs and hearing nothing back, because hiring systems are now automated gatekeepers. Applicant tracking systems, ATS, don't read your resume like a human does. They filter, rank, and discard based on keyword matches, formatting, and arbitrary scoring rules, meaning the best candidate doesn't win, the most algorithm-friendly candidate does. Meanwhile, employers are posting ghost jobs to look like they're growing, to scare employees into thinking they're replaceable, or to collect resumes for later. Some analysts estimate a significant chunk of listings online aren't even active hires, they're placeholders. And while all that's happening, the layoffs never really stopped. They just became quieter. Tech cuts wave after wave, retail slashing hours instead of announcing layoffs, companies pushing return-to-office policies as a soft layoff strategy because they know a percentage of workers will quit and they won't have to pay severance. Add AI into this, and now entire categories of white-collar work are being devalued in real time. Writing, customer support, basic legal research, entry-level coding, administrative work. It's not that jobs disappear overnight, it's that wages get pressured downward because management can say, we can automate 40% of this, and suddenly your negotiating power collapses. This is why people feel more anxious than ever about leaving a job, even a job they hate, because the new reality is, you can be employed and still be one bad week away from financial disaster, and you can be qualified and still be locked out of opportunity by systems designed to reject you at scale. The job market isn't just weakening, it's becoming hostile, and it's pushing people into burnout, insecurity, and silent desperation while the headlines keep telling you to smile and be grateful. America is not just facing economic challenges. America is breaking its people psychologically, physically, and socially, and that's what real collapse looks like. Not a movie scene where everything explodes at once, more like a slow grind, where daily life becomes harder, colder, meaner, and more unstable until people stop recognizing the country they live in. Look at what's spreading everywhere in 2026. Exhaustion, distrust, and survival behavior. People aren't planning 5 years ahead anymore. They're planning to make it to Friday. That's not normal. That's not just adult life. That's a society under sustained pressure. When you've got a huge chunk of the population unable to handle a $400 emergency without debt, when people are skipping doctor visits, rationing medication, cutting meals, driving with check engine lights on for months because repairs are unaffordable, that's a system that's failed its basic function. And once a country fails at the basics, everything else starts to unravel. Marriages crack, communities weaken, civic trust evaporates, and people retreat into isolation because socializing costs money now. Even fun has become a luxury product. Going out to eat feels like a financial mistake. Taking a vacation feels irresponsible. Having kids feels like jumping off a cliff without a parachute. And then there's the emotional part. This is the quiet disaster nobody measures properly. When millions of people feel like the rules don't work anymore, they stop participating. You see it in the labor force. More people doing the bare minimum. More people mentally checked out. More people refusing to go above and beyond because they've realized loyalty is punished. You see it in public behavior. Shorter tempers. More road rage. More shoplifting, more aggression in everyday interactions, More people openly saying they want to leave the country because the cost of living, healthcare, housing, and safety feel like a trap. You see it in the way people talk now. Everything feels like a scam, because it kind of is. The American dream has turned into an American invoice payable forever. And here's the scariest part. Even when the numbers improve, the lived reality often doesn't. Because the gains concentrate at the top while the bottom 90% keeps getting squeezed. That creates a sense of unreality, like the country is telling you one story while your bank account tells you another. That cognitive dissonance is corrosive. It makes people distrust institutions, media, experts, and even each other. And when trust collapses, society becomes fragile. People start hoarding, not just food, but stability. They cling to whatever job they have, whatever housing they have, whatever routine they have, because the system no longer feels predictable. That's why this moment feels different than past downturns. It's not just a recession vibe, it's a structural decline in the affordability and reliability of everyday life. And once a nation reaches the point where normal life feels like luxury, where basic stability feels like winning the lottery, where people work harder but feel poorer every year, then yeah, that's not just hardship. That's a country falling apart in real time. And if you're feeling it, it's because you're paying attention. And that's where we are right now, watching the country fall apart piece by piece, while being told everything's fine. You're not alone if you feel overwhelmed. You're not crazy if you feel like the system is designed to keep you struggling. Because it is. And for millions of people across this country, it's no longer about chasing dreams. It's about trying to survive the month without drowning. But if you made it this far, you're not asleep. You see what's happening. And that means you still have the power to act, to prepare, to think differently, and to wake other people up. So if this hit you hard, share it, leave a comment, and subscribe. Because this isn't a one-off video. This is part of a bigger story they don't want you to hear. And trust me, what's coming next is even more important. Stay aware, stay ready, and I'll see you in the next one.